The Battle of Salamis is a defining moment in ancient history that highlights the triumph of the Greeks against the Persian Empire. Themistocles managed to unite in a coalition against the Persians' 30 Greek cities, led by Sparta. This was a great success because previously Greek cities that were hostile to each other never united. Greeks only agreed among themselves and formed an alliance thanks to the cunning and agility of Themistocles. After passing through Thermopylae, the Persians directed their attack on Athens. Understanding that Athenians could not defeat the huge Persian army, Themistocles persuaded his fellow citizens to leave the city and escape on ships to the Aegean Sea islands, Troezen, and the island of Salamis, where the Greek fleet was anchored. The Persians burned the abandoned Athens and destroyed Greek temples. At that time, the Greek navy was stationed in the narrow Salamis Strait, and Persian warships were nearby. Themistocles began to convince the Spartan commander Eurybiades to give the Persians a decisive battle. Eurybiades wanted to retreat closer to where the main Spartan ground forces were on land. The dispute between Themistocles and Eurybiades almost ended in a fight. Unable to respond to the arguments of the agile Athenian order, Eurybiades, losing his temper, swung a stick at him. "Strike, if you will. But here," said Themistocles. These words went down in history and became a winged phrase, used when someone wants to be heard at any cost. Themistocles convinced the Spartans to join the battle against the Persians, but the next day, seeing how many times more ships the Persians had, Eurybiades ordered a retreat. Then Themistocles sent his man to Xerxes, informing the Persian king that he was switching sides and advising him to block the exit from the strait because the Greeks wanted to escape. Xerxes believed him, and Persian ships closed the path to the open sea for the Greek fleet. The battle became inevitable. It lasted a whole day. The main unit of the Greeks in this sea battle was maneuverable trireme. The trireme was specifically designed for rowing and could be fitted with a sail, but its maneuverability in the wind was limited. The ship was long and shallow, making it fast and agile, but it could also be equipped with a ram on the bow to ram enemy ships. The trireme had 3 levels of rowers, with each level containing between 30 and 50 oarsmen. The rowers were not slaves but rather men who could not afford hoplite armor, and thus served as rowers instead. The crew of a trireme typically consisted of about 200 men, including 170 rowers, 13 sailors, 10 soldiers, and some officers. The hoplites were stationed on the upper deck of the ship where they could fight against the enemy. The rowers were the main attacking force of the trireme, and the ram was their weapon. The trireme was so advanced and powerful that it was soon copied by other cultures around the Mediterranean, and became the dominant warship in the region. Themistocles proposed to deploy the ships themselves towards the enemy's vessels and not to start the battle until the wind blowing from the sea raised high waves in the strait. Greek ships were flat-bottomed and relatively low, so the wind and high waves did not hinder their maneuvering. Persian ships, on the other hand, had a high stern, a high deck, and were very heavy. Although the Greek fleet was numerically inferior to the Persian fleet in the Battle of Salamis, they were able to use all their ships, while the Persians could only use a part of their fleet. The details of the Battle of Salamis are not fully known, but it is known that triremes were equipped with rams to sink enemy ships. If the ramming failed, Marines would board the enemy ship and engage in hand-to-hand combat. As the first line of Persian ships was pushed back by the Greeks, they became tangled in the advancing second and third lines of their own ships. The Persian admiral Ariobarzanes was killed early on in the battle, and the Phoenician squadrons were pushed back against the coast, with many ships running aground. Artemisia, the queen of Halicarnassus and commander of the Carian contingent, was pursued by Amenias of Pallene. To escape, she attacked and sank a Collindian ship, which was mistaken for an ally by Amenias. Xerxes, observing the incident, believed that Artemisia had attacked an allied ship and was impressed with her bravery. The Persian fleet began to retreat towards Phalerum, but the Aeginetans ambushed them as they tried to leave the straits. The remaining Persian ships retreated to the harbor of Phalerum and the shelter of the Persian army. The Athenian general Aristides then went to Psytalia to slaughter the garrison that Xerxes had left there. The exact number of Persian casualties is unknown, but it is believed that they suffered more casualties than the Greeks because most Persians did not know how to swim. Xerxes witnessed the battle from Mount Aigaleo and had Phoenician captains beheaded for blaming the Ionians for cowardice. The Phoenicians sailed back to Asia when night fell. Despite the Persians holding their ground, the battle ended in a grand victory for the Greeks. The light and maneuverable ships of the Greeks sank almost all the sluggish Persian ships. Thus, thanks to Themistocles' cunning, the Greeks won a decisive victory. Thank you for your attention and see you in new videos on the channel, Echoes of the Ancient World. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and all the best.